Nvidia earnings are going to be crazy. Here's what you need to know. Sell side expectations are for 28 billion. They've beaten by 2 billion pretty much every quarter. So 30 billion is probably the threshold of a good earnings report. The buy side, those who are bullish, are expecting 32 billion. In Asia, it's possibly up to 33 billion this quarter. Once you get into the 30s, it's probably good. If we hit a 33 number, that is very good. Once we get above 33 billion, that is panic territory. Unless you have Jensen Huang's signature tatted on your chest, have two twins named Nvidia, and have bought Nvidia under $5 per share and is one of your biggest holdings, you're not long enough. The guidance is key, and I think very low. People are expecting a guide up of another 2 billion, possibly to 33 billion the next quarter. So probably the baseline for the buy side is 30 billion this quarter, 33 billion guidance for next quarter. But I think it could be up to 40 for guidance. That would be crazy. Almost every hedge fund owns this name, but brokers are saying that hedge funds are not extremely crowded going into the print. Now I'm going to show you my secret weapon, which is the production numbers, because demand's going to be there for the next year. It's really about what they can supply, and this has nothing to do with Blackwell. Now this is Q2, this is Q1. You can see the drop off in the A100s production to the H100 production to the H200 production. There is 0 Blackwells in these estimates. Total production in chips for Q2 is 34% higher than Q1. This is the A and H line, which is also 34% higher. It's hard to say what the lag is, whether it's 1 month or 2 months, but let's say that it's 2 months. So you don't have this big boost in July production. So you go back to these 3 quarters, which is not that big of a bump from the 3 quarters prior. So that maybe would make it a 30 billion number. But now Q2 production is definitely going to come forward in Q3. So if you're using a 2-month lag, they have 300,000 chips per month on average. The next quarter guidance are going to be nearly 400,000 in production. So if our growth rate is 26 from last quarter, 32 this quarter, Q2, and in Q3, probably going to be a $40 billion number. They might give us 38. I mean, it could be up to 45 in Q3. That is a crazy run rate quarter over quarter. Again, I talked to an analyst that has a $290 billion number next year. I think most of the buy side that is bullish is expecting at least 230, when estimates right now are for 169. This is crazy. The Blackwell's big for next year, but there's no estimates for Blackwells to be delivered this year. The A100s, H100s, and H200s are all going to be able to be sold out. There's so much demand for data centers that it doesn't matter that these are current gens, the next gen's coming out. It's not like Apple where people are really waiting for the iPhone 16 to upgrade. These guys are going to be able to sell everything in their inventory. On my last video, I showed you a DCF that said based on current estimates, Nvidia is probably overvalued. But I looked into it. The Bloomberg estimates out 10 years. There's only 2 analysts that do that, go out 10 years. And for some reason, they're both very bearish. So Bloomberg takes the average of what everyone says for each year, and it drops from 60 covering to 2 bearish guys. So for some reason, there was a negative free cash flow margin in like 2031, which is just not reasonable. When I normalized what was happening, Nvidia is probably appropriately valued, and that's with an extremely high beta. So their cost of capital being discounted was like 12%. The right discount rate for Nvidia is probably 8 or 9%. And even at this current estimates, if you just extrapolate, it's probably appropriately valued / slightly undervalued at this level. But if they get to $230 billion next year, this could be a $6 trillion company or a $200 stock. I made a joke last video that everyone should be panicking. If you're long, you might not be long enough. Or if they miss, you can't hedge yourself out with 100% IV. And if you short, hopefully you're agile enough that you can cover fast. But all kidding aside, If you have a max 10% position in your best names, it could be 30%. Whatever it is, stick to your strategy, be smart. It's just so exciting. Like, I can't wait until